You know that green stuff you see growing on old rocks and trees? Moss. Yeah, it's pretty much everywhere, but let's be honest, we barely give it a second glance. Well, what if I told you that this humble little plant holds some of the biggest secrets to life on Earth, and maybe, just maybe, our future somewhere else? Okay, let's get into it and uncover the incredible story of our planet's unsung architect.
First up, let's talk about just how tough this stuff is. Get this, scientists in Antarctica drilled into the permafrost, pulled out a chunk of moss, and thawed it out. After being frozen solid for over 1,500 years, it started growing again. It just woke up.
Still not impressed? All right, how about this one? Researchers attached moss spores to the outside of the International Space Station. For 9 straight months, they were blasted with the vacuum of space, insane temperature swings, and unfiltered cosmic radiation. When they brought them back, over 80% of them were totally fine and started reproducing.
So that's the big question, right? How in the world can this simple-looking plant survive the absolute impossible? Well, the answer is pretty amazing. It lies deep in its ancient history, when moss was literally building our planet, and in its unique biology, which we're about to dive into. To really understand its power, we have to jump in a time machine, and I mean way, way back, over 400 million years ago, back to a time when moss was the planet's first true architect, basically terraforming a barren, rocky world into the one we know today.
Just look at this timeline. The scale is just mind-boggling. Around 430 million years ago, the very first bryophytes, that's the plant group moss belongs to, showed up. And for millions and millions of years, they were pretty much the only thing growing on land, slowly but surely spreading across the giant supercontinent of Pangaea. And as they spread, they started a revolution.
And we're not just talking about laying down a green carpet here. This was a full-on global engineering project. These little mosses sucked colossal amounts of CO2 out of the air, which actually cooled the planet. They released acids that literally broke down bare rock, creating the world's very first topsoil. And, of course, through photosynthesis, they pumped our atmosphere full of oxygen, raising it to the levels we need to breathe. So think about this. Without moss, all the other land plants, and by extension, you and me, we might never have happened.
So how did it do all this? What's the secret? Well, let's zoom in from the planetary scale right down to the microscopic level and check out the biological superpowers that make moss so special. So, mosses are part of a group called bryophytes. Now, the key word to know here is non-vascular. Think of it this way. Most plants have a complex system of internal pipes and straws to move water around. Mosses don't have any of that. Instead, they just absorb water and nutrients directly through their leaves. It's a super simple design they got from their green algae ancestors, and it's incredibly effective.
So, next time you're out in the woods, you'll probably see 2 main kinds. You've got your acrocarpous mosses, which grow upright in these tight little cushions. Then you have the pleurocarpous ones, which are the complete opposite. They grow outwards in these sprawling, shaggy carpets. Just 2 totally different strategies for conquering the world.
Okay, now this diagram of their life cycle looks a little complex, but the basic idea is actually pretty wild. It's called alternation of generations. The main green mossy part we see actually has only 1 set of chromosomes. Then it grows this little stalk on top, which has 2 sets. That stalk then releases spores, which start the whole single set cycle over again. It's a bit weird, but hey, this system has been working flawlessly for over 400 million years. Now, all of these biological superpowers have allowed one specific type of moss to become a huge player in today's environment. But its role has created a serious conflict, a real paradox. And I'm talking about peat moss. When we say peat moss, we're usually talking about this genus, Sphagnum. And this stuff isn't just any old moss. It's what we call an ecosystem engineer. For thousands of years, the dead layers of sphagnum pile up and slowly decay, forming these massive, vital ecosystems called peat bogs. And here's its secret weapon. Under a microscope, you can see these unique hyaline cells. They're basically large, empty cells that act like tiny, perfect sponges. They allow the moss to hold up to 20 times its own weight in water. This incredible water-hoarding ability is exactly what creates the soggy, acidic conditions of a peat bog.
And why does that matter so much? Well, remember how the ancient mosses pulled CO2 out of the air to build our world? Their descendants are still doing it. This quote from soil scientist Linda Brewer really says it all. Because things decay so slowly in those oxygen-poor bogs, all the carbon the moss absorbs from the atmosphere gets locked away for thousands of years.
I mean, this chart just drives the point home. It's wild.
Peat bogs cover this tiny fraction of the Earth's land, only about 5%, yet they hold more stored carbon than all of the planet's forests combined. They are without a doubt one of the most important carbon sinks we have.
But here's the paradox. We harvest peat moss, a lot of it, mostly for our gardens. And when we do that, we're not just digging up a plant. We're draining these ancient wetlands, destroying incredibly unique habitats, and, you guessed it, releasing thousands of years of stored carbon right back into the atmosphere. A harvested bog is an environmental mess that can take centuries to heal, if it ever does.
So all of this brings us to the final chapter of our story, moss and our future. How do we solve this conflict? And what else could be next for this amazing little plant? It can feel like a huge, overwhelming problem, for sure. But the cool part is, the solution doesn't have to be huge. It can actually start with us, right in our own gardens. So, what can we actually do?
The good news is, the solutions are pretty simple. First, just check the bag. When you buy potting soil, look for one that says, peat-free. Second, choose the alternatives. There are great ones out there, like compost, coconut coir, or wood fiber. And third, the absolute best option. Make your own compost at home.
And that really brings us full circle. From its job as the first architect of our planet to its absolutely mind-blowing ability to survive the vacuum of space, moss has proven over and over that it's the ultimate pioneer. It's a builder, a survivor, a true master of making life happen.
Which leaves us with one last kind of mind-blowing thought. We started this whole thing talking about moss surviving on the outside of a space station. So, if this humble plant was able to terraform a barren, rocky Earth 400 million years ago, could it, one day, help us do it again? Maybe on the Moon or Mars? The ultimate pioneer might just have one more giant leap left to right.